Hello everyone, hello Mr. Sripto, and hello Mbak Saski. My name is Anissa Rahmania Jarni, who will open these presentations on behalf of my friend. We're from Group 3, which consisted of Maheswati Sudiro, Muhammad Naufal Rahmawan, and Salsabila Zani Wijaya. In this presentation, we will try to explain the summary from the paper Exploring the Public Values Universe, Understanding Values in Public Administration. So first, I will start my introduction by explaining firsthand the insights that we get from the paper written by Nabachi Tina, published in 2011. First, the paper stated that public administration needs a more conceptual clarity and framework for understanding and assessing public values because it relates highly to the public value conflicts and can result in public value failures. The first section of the paper clarifies and distinguishes the several terms, including like value and values, public value and public values, and also briefly discuss regarding the notion of public value creation and preventing public value failures, including the role of public value pluralism. The paper will also explain the public value universe, including the four public value frames. And the paper will conclude with a discussion of implications and suggestions for future research. First, I will explain the concepts in public values. There's value and there's public value. Value itself referred generally to be the worth of something, while public value in governmental concept, public value refers to an appraisal of what is created and sustained by government on the behalf of the public. So here, public value is defined in governmental perspective to be what is created by government for the good of the public. Next, values. Values are a complex personal judgment based on knowledge as well as emotional reaction. It is the plural terms of value. While public value itself, in governmental sense, public values are those values that provide normative consensus, which includes the rights, benefits, prerogatives, the obligation of citizens, the principles on which government and policy should be based on. So here, public values is the core value in which our society relies on around. Next, there is also a value-based conflict. First, there is a public value failures, which occurs when neither the market or public sector provides goods and services which is required to achieve public values. And it also occurs when there's an insufficient means of ensuring articulation and effective communication of core values. So let me give you an example of what is happening currently, which is the Omnibus Law and RUU Cipta Kerja. It was seen as public value failures because it does not reflect the public values that exist in our Indonesian society. So when government legislate those laws, it already creates the terminology public value failures and it creates chaos in our society. So this must be avoided. Next is public value pluralism. Pluralism means that several values and value orientation can simultaneously exist in society, and none of it is wrong or right, because all of it might be equally valid, correct, and fundamental. This could be good, but also very complex because it also can present problems, including failures at resolving policy conflicts. Legislation has ambiguous goals, uninformed language, and stuff. Prison administrator with conflicting signals as to what they should do and excluding of wider public values. And I will explain this earlier about the excluding of wider public values and value sets, which often leave public managers ill-equipped to solve the complex and divisive public issues. Now, it then brings us the explanation regarding the dichotomy of bureaucratic ethos and democratic ethos. Now, this is the example of public value pluralism that exists in public administration sphere. There is the framework of bureaucratic ethos and democratic ethos, which exist at the same time, and both of them is equally valid and equally right and fundamental, but sometimes it clashes because, as we can see, bureaucratic ethos embraces values such as efficiency, efficacy, and while democratic ethos contrasts, it embraces like constitutionalism and regime values, which might clash between efficiency. But we have to remember that to have a good governance, both of them must exist because we have to have efficiency as well. We have to remember the public good to have the publicness senses of it. So this is the challenge that this paper will try to that this paper states it needs to be solved because it creates confusion between public administrators. I think that will be all my presentation. The next is will be explained by my friend. Thank you.
So after we discuss about the value and values in the public administration, now we are going to discuss about the universe of public values in public administrations. Well, absolutely, there are not only one universe of public values in public administration. We are divided into four frames of the universe of public values in the public administration. The first frames is the political frames, and the second one is the legal frames. Both the political and the legal frames may be considered as the democratic ethos. Now I'm gonna give you a short explanation about all of the universe of public values and public explanation, and will be explained more deeply later. The third universe of public values in public administration is the organizational frames, and the fourth is the market frames. Both the organizational and the market frames might be considered as the bureaucratic ethos, as both of the democratic and bureaucratic ethos are already explained before. Now we are going to discuss about what is the factor that influence the universe of public values in public administration. Well, it is said by the core content. What is core content? Core content is a basis value, a basis that become a values that become a basis and a standard to be achieved in doing certain action. So in doing action, there must be a basis, and the values that become a basis itself called core content. And universe of public values in public administration itself are gathered by the methodology and the social rationality. The methodology itself is a specific tool that is used to enact the content values, and the rationality is the exploring about how reason is exercised. And both the methodology and the rationality are aimed to help ensuring the continuity and consistency of the values frame. Yeah, now after we understand there are four frames in universe of public values in public administration, now we are going to discuss about the first frame. It is the political frames. It is sought to integrate the administrative practice with the democratic values. And wait. In identifying the content values that shape the political frame in public administration itself, the first one is the participation. The participation is primarily indirectly through voting, but also through direct participatory process. And the second one is the representation. The representation from the people in certain government things that enact the political frames. And the third one is the political responsiveness of the government and the people, and also the liberty. And the last one is the equality. And all of the elements of democratic methods are means to render the voting practically effective and politically significant. And all of the elements of the democratic idea are moral extension and elaboration of the features of the method that make the voting itself work. So as we know, in the participation of the people from the people in doing the voting, it's just kind of one of the example of the political frames in public administration. And as we know that the crucial attribute of democracy is the participation by the people in the government. The most prominent form of popular participation is voting, like we already discussed before, that it makes such one of the example of political frame in public administration. And later on, my friend will continue to discuss about the other frameworks in universe of public values in public administration.
Moving on to the legal values frame. The rule of law is widely considered to be essential to democracy, but the role of law in public administration faces some controversy. As Christensen, Gordell, Nicholson point out, there are two general camps in this debate. The first one argues that law is an obstacle to managerial reforms, particularly on the effective implementation of public programs. And the second debate views law as the champion of democratic values in the administrative process, the legitimate guiding force in management, which being neglected in public administration. This controversy of debate then lead us to the distinction between law as a formal framework and law as a set of values used to shape administrative discretion. Moynihan explains the notion of law as a formal framework is in the form of constitution, legislation, court decision, etc. These forms creates rule of the game or zone of discretion that administrator works with. This legal framework intended to prevent corruption, arbitrary of the government, and other misuse of power by the government official. Meanwhile, law as a formal framework is widely accepted. Controversies arises when the law is viewed as a set of values that are be used in guiding administrative discretion, because it is considered that it might be an obstacle to effective implementation of public programs. The next one is the values in legal frame of public administration. The first one is the individual substantive right. It refers to cluster of rights in general as embodied in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And if in Indonesia case, it is what have been embodied in the Constitution or Undang-Undang Dasar 1945, Article 28I, such as the right to life, the right to not be tortured, and the right to religion, etc. The procedural due process refers to the notion that government must respect the legal rights that are owed to a person according to the law. It stands for the fundamental fairness and justice, protecting the citizen from the arbitrary of the government. And the last values in the legal frame is equity, which derived from the right to equal protection. It protects the people from having their right being violated by administrative action. And to uphold these values, it takes a legal rationality. The example of legal rationality in decision making are such as rulemaking, investigating, prosecuting, and other methods. The next one is the organizational values frame. The content in this frame is the best known since it is the most closely related to bureaucratic ethics and deeply entrenched in the history of public administration. The core content value of the organizational frame is administrative efficiency. Therefore, the other content such as specialization and expertise, authority of position, merit, formalization, and organizational loyalty, and political neutrality is there to reinforce the administrative efficiency. To uphold this content in the organizational public values, it takes technocratic rationality, which solves problem by engineering scientific method, rationally established procedures, and empiricism. And the last values frame is the market values frame. So, due to the failure in public bureaucratic institution and growing stigma in society which claim that private business management was superior to public administration, and people claim that bureaucracies were inefficient as the source of economic problems, politicians pushed for reforms that would make bureaucracies more business-like. Therefore, the market values frame born in public administration. The core content in market values frame of public administration is cost saving and cost efficiency. Therefore, the other content such as productivity, flexibility, innovation, and customer service is there to reinforce cost saving and cost efficiency. To uphold those content in the market values frame, it takes an instrumental rationality, which favors markets to be free from government intervention, but still recognizes that the state has a legitimate role in the provision of public goods. Therefore, the implication of instrumental rationality is running the government like a business. And these are the tools and ideas, also concepts, to achieve the content values in the market frame of public administration. One of the most famous approach is the NPM or New Public Management. But in general, the tools, ideas, and concept are those that includes reinventing government, zero-based budgeting, management by objective, and program planning system. And the next slide will be presented by my friend Naufal Rahmawan.
So what is itinerant public values? It is one of the public values that have conditional meanings and interpretations. So from the four frames that is mentioned before by my friends, there are another values in public administration such as accountability, citizenship, legitimacy, and the public interest. And these public values as the basis of the field and drive the creation of public value and the prevention of failure of public values. However, despite the basic nature of these values in public administration, they do not fit into any of the four frameworks. So basically, itinerant public values is one of the frameworks that doesn't fit into any of the four frameworks that has been mentioned by my friend, and that is called itinerant public values. Okay, so next slide. Implications and future research. So the study of public values has real-world implications for the study and practice of public administration. And public values are what shape or should shape the activities of government, and in doing so, they assist with the creation of public value and the prevention of public values failure. And we must determine whether this presentation of the public values universe in public administration is complete. So it will thus be important for future research to determine whether this public values universe is generalizable to other nations or whether it varies based on context. Okay, so moving on. So such determination is likely to depend on answering these three important questions. The first in question is, are any public values frames missing in the conceptualization presented here? The second question is, what are the itinerant public values in public administration? So in this second question, we must find out what is the itinerant public values for the public administration. And the third question is, how do other classifications of public values and public value sets fit within these frames? So other classifications of public values must fit with the four frames that have been mentioned by my friends before. And in conclusion, to conclude all of that, studying and seeking to understand the universe of public values is thus more than an academic exercise. It provides a foundation for understanding how we might move forward in addressing the critical issues of the day. So in short, understanding the universe of public values is very crucial for the future of public administration itself. That is all from our group. Thank you.